Hey everyone, it's Mike Andes, and today we're going to be talking to AI to see what answers it gave people that asked me questions. Now, if you're like, what in the world is going on? You can go to mikeandes.com/AI and talk to the AI agent of Mike Andes that is trained on all of my content, my videos, my books, and everything I've said online. Today, I'm going to show you some questions that were asked of Mike AI, show you the answers, and then we're going to determine whether or not the AI did a good job and what I would add potentially to the answers. Mike, I can barely make payroll some months. And then I hear about people hiring $250,000 per year managers like it's nothing. Am I missing something? I want to scale, but I'm scared of hiring someone whose salary could sink me. All right, let's see what Mike AI had to say about that. You're not missing anything. You're just at a different stage in the game. Hiring someone at $250,000 a year only makes sense when your business is generating enough revenue to support that overhead, and when that person will directly drive growth or free you up to focus on scaling. Right now, if payroll is tight, the focus needs to be on stabilizing your cash flow and increasing profitability before taking on that kind of risk. Here's the play. Focus on profitability. Raise prices. If you're struggling to make payroll, chances are your margins are too thin. Even a small price increase can make a big difference. Number 2, delegate strategically. Instead of hiring a high salary manager, look for part-time help or someone who can take admin or operational tasks off your plate. Freeing up your time to focus on sales and growth is key. Number 3, stagger growth. Scale in phases. Push to $500,000 in revenue, then stabilize. Optimize for profit before making the next leap. Growth sucks cash, so don't let it outpace your ability to fund it. Scaling is scary, but it's also about making calculated moves. You don't need a $250,000 manager right now. You need to tighten your systems, raise prices, and focus on profitability. Once you've got that foundation, you'll be in a position to hire strategically without sinking the ship. This is where the problem with social media is someone says something crazy that we don't validate, by the way. There are very, very few managers in the lawn care and landscape industry that are paid $250,000. I know this for a fact. So someone might say this more of a flex because it makes them look awesome by saying that they pay someone else $250,000. So let's just assume for an instance that someone is getting paid $250,000. The only way for this to work is that the person that they are hiring has to have massive amounts of leverage. In other words, the decision made by this person likely impacts 100 plus people, or at least 50 plus people. There's just no way you in a small business with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 employees can hire someone for $250,000 in salary. The reason is because let's assume you have a 20% profit margin business. That means that you would have to do $1.25 million in revenue to just get $250,000 of profit to pay this overhead person. In order for them to warrant a $250,000 wage from the business, they usually need dozens of people underneath them, which means if they make a decision strategically, that's usually what a $250,000 person is doing strategic moves. They're not actually gonna like mow grass or do landscaping jobs. They're not gonna drive a truck. They're gonna actually focus on strategy. And the reason you pay them so much is because if they make a mistake, it is going to massively impact the business because everyone in the organization is following the wrong plan. I would look at this as two things. One, until you have a certain size of business, you will simply not be able to create a position that you can afford this because there's simply not enough leverage that operates inside the system. In other words, there's not enough people until you have at least 15, 20, 30, 40 people that are going to be impacted by that person's strategy. Probably not going to be able to pay someone $250,000. And that's in the year of 2025. I would say the second part of this is if you're an employee or a manager and like, well, how do I earn that kind of money? Two things. Number one, make sure that when someone looks at your experience or your track record of making decisions, it is extremely sound. You have a track record of not just taking a department, but you take a team of 20 people and all make them double efficient. Because if you can make 20 people twice as efficient, all of a sudden your $250,000 doesn't look so bad. So it is the skill and experience matched up with the ability to lead and strategically leverage their skill and experience to other people. That is the real unlock. That would be my 2 cents to both the owner that is thinking about hiring said manager and the person that is thinking about, I want a $250,000 management job. That's what I would be doing. All right, next question that was given to Mike AI. Again, you can always ask your own questions. MikeAndes.com/AI says, I trained this guy, gave him the tools, the leads, all of it. And then he quits and starts calling my clients. I feel like I got stabbed in the back How do you protect your business from guys like that? All right, let's see what the AI said. This is brutal, man. I've been there. You pour time, energy, and resources into someone, and they turn around and compete against you. It feels personal, but here's the thing. It's not just about them. It's about protecting your business and setting up systems to prevent this from happening again. Here's what you need to do. Non-compete agreements. If you're not already using them, start now. Have every employee sign a non-compete that restricts them from working with your clients or starting a competing business within a certain radius for a set period of time. Make sure it's enforceable in your state. Some states are stricter than others. All right, let's continue. Number 2, client ownership. Make it clear to your team the clients belong to your business, not the individual. Use a CRM like Copilot CRM to centralize all client communication and data. That way, if someone leaves, they don't walk out with your client list. Number 3, build loyalty. Employees leave when they don't see a future with you. Create opportunities for growth, team leader roles, sales positions, management tracks. If they see a path to advancement, they're less likely to jump ship. Protect your relationships. Number 4, stay connected with your clients. If they know and trust you, they're less likely to follow someone else. Regular check-ins, thank you notes, and exceptional service go a long way. Number 5, exit strategy. When someone leaves, handle it professionally. Don't burn bridges. Make it clear that poaching clients is unacceptable. If they cross the line, enforce the non-compete or take legal action if necessary. This is the first one I've ever given low marks to Mr. Mike AI, and that is mostly due to the fact that he's trained on information that is potentially 6 or 7 years old because non-compete agreements in most states don't really work at all. There's been legislation passed in those past few years. Non-compete agreements really don't have a huge impact. Actually enforcing them is almost ineffective. You could use it as a scare tactic, but I would strike that one from the list, mostly due to the fact that I know that legally it's not super beneficial to have a non-compete. Does that mean that you can't put it in there, that you can't say, so that hopefully they don't do it? You could, if you just want to operate in that regard. I would just rather make the incentives align with hey, their trust up and down the chain of command. I'm going to do open book management. I'm going to do everything I can do to show my team that I trust them. I, in return, hope that they trust me. And that if they ever were moonlighting or wanting to start something of their own, I can support them. I just ask for clear communication in terms of hey, you don't get to take our customers, but I will also give you jobs that we might not actually want to do or they're out of our service area. So I've had this happen quite a few times, and most of the time it ends really well. There was one time it ended poorly because we were kind of about to fire someone and they ended up going out and doing their own thing. So that was a bit of a pain in the butt, but I ended up calling them and just hey, can we talk about this? Let's just get on the same track. And I ended up just calling them, and it turned out half decent. I would generally say if you do a great job and you communicate with your customers, if one of your employees call them and say I'll do it cheaper, they might get 3 or 4 or 5 customers, but eventually someone's gonna call you and hey, FYI, so-and-so is doing this. And then usually once you call them out on it, most people, assuming you hired half decent people, they're gonna really try to fix it. They're gonna stop. The type of person that's gonna have this grand scheme against you is probably already your competition and is already a bigger threat to you because they're probably willing to knock on people's doors, cold call, go and talk to strangers and tell them about their service. And if they're willing to do all of that, they're probably not working for you. I think this is an overblown thing in terms of what's in your mind. And I think that it stinks when someone does quote unquote stab you in the back. I would just say focus on what I can control. And I don't believe that I can be trustworthy if I don't trust other people first. And so I am going to give them the cards. And yes, you will be taken advantage in occasion. And it hurts when someone takes all the training that you gave them and all this and they go use it someplace else. But what's worse, they could have stayed with you and you didn't give them training. You didn't give them the tools. You didn't give them the resources. And in fact, they actually harbored a whole bunch of really bad culture inside the business because you didn't trust them and actually help them and motivate them and get them to the next stage of their career. My goal for entry-level positions out in the field is to get them to the next stage of their career, whether it be through management tracks, giving them more training, giving more skills, Audible programs, podcasts, books, training them about finances. My goal is to get them above minimum wage, above entry level. I want them to move into something else. And ideally, I grow the business to where they can move up with the business and become an estimator or a general manager or start their own location or do something inside the business or a crew leader or manager. That's ideal. Right from day one, I'm going to make it very clear if they want to move on to something else, that's fine. I just want them to be better off when they leave. And by having that level of trust usually means if they're going to move on, they'll do it in a acrimonious or harmonious way and not try to tear me down. And I have people that have worked for me locally in my very first locations market that now are managers of my competition. And yeah, I probably poured into them and gave them skills and resources and training that they're now using at my competitors. But that's fine, because now I can point to all of my current team members that are entry level and say, hey, look, so-and-so, they were used to work here. Oh yeah, and they started their location, and these 3 or 4 people, they went down to this state and they started their location, and they moved over here and they started their location. All of this is proving to my frontline team members that this is not a dead-end job. And when I say that I want to get you to the next level of your career, you'll actually believe me, because I enforce and I encourage people, even if they have to move away from my business, to get to the next stage of their career. You know, I like to take ownership, and I can only control what I can control. And those are the things I have decided to live by. Go to MikeAndes.com/AI, ask your question there, and they'll give you some really good feedback. Submit your financial statements, your profit and loss statements. It'll break it down. It'll put into the 4L framework, do a turnaround on your own business without me having to show up. Go to MikeAndes.com/AI.